Alright, so today I want to show you 8 more ball python hatchlings I want to post over on Morphmarket for sale. And essentially all these ball pythons have eaten about 24 meals, have a really good start. They're all looking really good. And I pretty much sorted through what I want to keep and what I don't want to keep. So I'm unloading some of the stuff that I know 100% for sure that I don't want to hold them back. As a matter of fact, I would like to hold them back. I just don't have the room to hold all of them back. It's always the hardest part, trying to figure out what you want. And if you're actually interested in one of these hatchlings, you can kind of expand the description underneath this video, and I'll actually have a link to my Morphmarket store over there. And if you click on that link, go over to Morphmarket and kind of browse the store. And if you're interested in a snake, you can kind of reply to that snake and say, hey, I want to buy the snake. And I'm pretty much going first come, first serve. Whoever has the first comment gets the first shot at buying that snake. And pretty much the prices over there are the price for the snake, and then you have shipping on top of that. So the shipping really depends on how far you live from Colorado. So like a local shipping, if I was actually shipped within Colorado, I think it's like $40 or something like that. And if I ship like all the way to Florida, pretty far away, it's like $75 or $80. Really depends on where you live. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump over and I'm gonna show you these 8 ball python hatchlings that I'm gonna post over on Morphmarket. Alright, so I'm going to start with this one. This is Snuggles. We named this girl Snuggles. It's a female Enchi, 100% het desert ghost. Look at how beautiful that is. This actually came from, I actually bred my visual desert ghost, which was an Enchi pastel, and I ended up producing this one. Look at how big she is. Getting really big already. I can't believe how big they grow so fast. It's pretty incredible. And I actually started them out on live mice and recently switched them over, and I kind of go back and forth between the live mice and a frozen thawed mouse, and every now and then I'll do like a frozen thawed rat to kind of switch them over. It really depends on what I have in my freezer or coming out of my rodent rack. Look at how beautiful that is. She's really pretty awesome. And with the Enchi, essentially what the Enchi does is it really reduces the pattern sometimes into almost tiger stripes. You can see it's really kind of reduced on this one, and a lot of times it'll actually bring out a lot of the oranges in a lot of your combinations. So you can see it's a little bit tiger striped right down the side. Looks pretty awesome. And sometimes you can kind of see the kind of I think this guy's a little bit ticklish, kind of freaking out. And if you actually take a look at the belly, look at the belly on this one. Pretty awesome belly. Yeah. Super headshot. This guy is not used to really being held that much. As a matter of fact, most of my hatchlings, I don't really handle them that much until they get maybe about this size. And look at that crazy belly. That is pretty awesome. I don't know if that belly is from the het desert ghost or what's really going on with that belly. It's kind of an unusual pattern, kind of checkering all up and down. Really pretty interesting. As far as prices on these, I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to go over to Morphmarket and kind of see what people are selling some of this stuff at, you know, as far as the pricing on that. But that's a really good looking snake. And I just probed it a second time off camera. I use a probe, kind of a metal probe, and I put it right in the vent. And I double checked this one, and this one is definitely a female. No doubt about it. I can guarantee 100% that this is definitely female. And when they're small, they're really hard to probe. I like to kind of probe them right before I sell them again to make sure that the probe goes in there properly and you can figure out the males from the females. So if you actually take a look, kind of a closer look at this one, you can see the head. Look at how dark the head is. Really super dark on this one. I was kind of wondering if there's something else in here because of the crazy belly pattern, and it's kind of really dark as far as the background on the snake too, which is kind of interesting. Sometimes you can get hidden genes kind of floating around the collection, and you never really know until you actually hit a combination. Then you're like, wow, that's actually, you know, that gene or whatever. But if you actually take a look at this guy, looking pretty good. Got some interesting patterns along the sides, and the Enchi is really awesome. I really love the Enchis. It makes for some really amazing combinations. As a matter of fact, the Enchi is co-dominant, so you can breed 2 Enchis together and make a super Enchi, which a lot of times it's almost like a tiger stripe pattern with the super Enchi. That is a really amazing girl. All right, so I got to wait on the last one. The last one, the Enchi, was 143 grams. This girl is 210 grams. This is a pastel 100% het desert ghost female. I just waited and did another probe on this one. It is 100% sure. I can guarantee this one is a female, looking really good. And if I didn't actually have so many super pastels that 100% het desert ghost, I'd probably keep this girl. Look at how big and chunky she is. Really super big. And it's kind of interesting in this one, it almost looks like it could have Enchi in the mix. I'm not sure about this one. So this one's possible Enchi, but I'm just saying that it's a pastel. It could be Enchi. I don't know. Sometimes the pastels can be really reduced like that. But the more I look at this, it almost looks like it has Enchi in the mix. But I'm just going to call it as a matter of fact, if you actually take a look at this, I'm thinking more and more this might actually have the Enchi. I'm pretty sure. As a matter of fact, I think I will label this one as a pastel Enchi. I just had it listed as a pastel up on my rack, but you can definitely see like the tiger stripes in here. I'm pretty sure this is pastel Enchi 100% het desert ghost. And the name on this one, we named this one Rusty. And it's kind of interesting. She has almost like a rusty color to it. Really interesting looking pastel. A lot of kind of like a reddish brown color through here. Looking really good. Look at how cute she is. Super cute. That is a really cute snake right there. And if we can kind of unravel her here and take a look at her a little bit closer and look at her belly. Her belly's pretty clear. She is a really big chunker. Look at how big that girl is. She's been eating really well. Looking fantastic. Growing really fast. Never really refused any meals. These are kind of the best ones that are ready to go first. So if you can kind of stretch her out, you can kind of see the pattern. I'm thinking more and more this is definitely Enchi in the mix. Take a look at that. That is pretty awesome girl right there. So this one, I'd say, as far as making kind of the ultimate combination, I think the pastel desert ghosts are really the most amazing combinations with the combination of the pastel and the desert ghost. And it really keeps the brightness of the pastel with the desert ghost as the snake ages and matures. And if you actually take a look at the head on this one, she has kind of interesting little like teardrops under the eye. She's a little bit head shy, but if you actually look at the kind of the little teardrop under the eye, I think that is kind of cute on this girl. Looking really good. She's getting pretty big for, only being, I have to actually look back at the hatch date on these. I don't know it off the top of my head, but this is I think they're only like a month and a half old, so not that old at all. Pretty amazing. All right, so take a look at this one. This one we named Peanut. Peanut's coming in at 153 grams. This is a female normal. I actually had it listed as a normal. And the way I produced this one, I actually crossed my bamboo calico with my pastel, which is kind of interesting. As a matter of fact, if you actually kind of take a look at this one a little bit closer, take a look at the belly, how it has kind of an interesting pattern on the belly that almost looks like it could have some yellow belly in the mix, which is kind of interesting. I was actually looking at the sides. It almost looks like it has some flames coming up the sides that almost look like a yellow belly, and it seems like it's pretty bright, like it actually could be a yellow belly, which is kind of interesting. And as far as I know, I don't think I have yellow belly in either one of those parents. So sometimes you produce something like this and the little markers are there for yellow belly, but you don't know 100% sure if you actually have it or not, which is kind of interesting that could be in my collection. And kind of the other thing is if it's actually, kind of the yellow belly markers on this, sometimes it could actually be it could be something else other than yellow belly, like an asphalt or a gravel or a spark or something like that. It could be one of those. And sometimes you actually see little markers on normals too. So I'm just going to mark this one as a normal, possible another gene in the yellow belly complex. No other hets or anything in this girl. And as far as the pattern on there, she's looking really good. Looks pretty normal as far as the other patterns on the side. I really like the white in between these alien heads. That is pretty cool. It almost looks like my triple hets. My triple het albino pied clowns kind of have this white in between the markers. As a matter of fact, I've actually seen some people that, you know, they kind of say the white in there could be het clown too. So, you know, you kind of look at these normals and you kind of picking out all the little stuff. Well, it could be this, it could be het for something. But as far as I know, as far as the breeding, the genes that I know for sure, I'm just going to call this one just a straight normal. All right, so take a look at this one. This one we named Bobble. Bobble is another female. It's a normal with no other genes in the mix. This is pretty much all females so far, which is kind of crazy. I can't believe I got all these females, which is kind of weird. A lot of times, you know, when you're looking at the odds of genes, sometimes you can miss all the genes, and then the other odds are the males and the females, which is pretty much 50-50. And sometimes you'll hit all males, and sometimes you'll hit a lot of females. And as a matter of fact, my very first year, I think I produced mostly males, and everyone's like, hey, where's all your females? This year it seems like almost every single snake is a female, which is pretty cool because most people want the females, especially normals. A lot of times normals is pretty much any snake as they age and mature and get a little bit older. A lot of people will pay a premium for females because it's the females that actually lay the eggs. If you actually take a look at the belly looks pretty clear, and this one almost looks like a little flaming up the sides, which is kind of interesting on these normals. Really beautiful looking normals. I've actually had people come up to my table at the reptile show and they said, out of all your snakes, I like that normal the best, which is kind of interesting. They're really inexpensive too. Pretty much the cheapest you can get compared to all your other ball pythons. Pretty amazing. Okay, so this one we named Slippy. Slippy is coming in at 127 grams, and it's a male, the first male, and this is a male pastel. It almost looks like it has some kind of granite or something in there, kind of jumbling up the sides, like the little pixelation in the sides. As a matter of fact, a lot of these actually came, I just realized that some of these came from my bamboo calico, which we just proved out this year to be 50% het desert ghost, because the female that produced it, we actually proved it out to be 100% het desert ghost. So I'm kind of tracking these all back, you know, chasing the recessive hets all the way back. So all of these, I'd say most of these are possible het desert ghost, and I'll go ahead and change the description on these to kind of reflect that. So it really depends if the male, the male that produced these was het desert ghost or not. There's a 50% chance that he has a copy of the gene. So these, you know, it's kind of a slim chance, but they could possibly have one copy of the desert ghost gene. And if we actually open this guy out, let's see if we can kind of open him up and take a closer look at this guy. Really beautiful pastel. Looking really good. It's kind of interesting on this one. He's kind of a really freckly, kind of a speckled little pattern right in the sides of the pastel. Looking kind of an interesting look on this one. And sometimes that's, you know, some people, you know, they call that granite, and some of the granite is genetics. So sometimes you breed the granite to something else and it'll transfer to the offspring, and sometimes the granite isn't genetics. So I've known some people will actually list these as a granite or like a granite type pattern, but I don't like to list them unless I actually know for sure that it's actually like a genetic granite, which is kind of interesting. If you actually look at the belly, I'd say in most pastels, a lot of the times on the pastels, the bellies are pretty clear, looking really good. This guy's really curious. Seems like he's not as head shy as some of the other ones. Looking really good. All right, so this one we named Jeeves, coming in at 173 grams. This is a male normal, and take a look at the granulation on this. I'm starting to think this might be a genetic granite that we're actually seeing in these. I'm seeing granite in maybe about half of them. As a matter of fact, if you actually produce about 50% granite, 50% non-granite, then you kind of prove out that granite is genetic, which is kind of interesting. And this also came from that same clutch. This is also possible het desert ghost. Pretty slim chance that it's het desert ghost, but there's a possibility you could actually pop out a desert ghost. And then this one looks really awesome. If you actually, let's take a look at the belly on this one. This is kind of a really interesting, like a coppery color on this one, and kind of an interesting pattern. If you look at the belly, if we can actually flip them over and see the belly, I always like to look at the belly. Sometimes you can actually see maybe indications of something going on along the belly. It's kind of interesting. A lot of these snakes I haven't really proved out a lot of, you know, what could possibly be in some of these. You can actually see almost like some lines right down the side, which could be maybe some yellow belly or something in these. Yeah, you start looking at them and you start picking out all these little markers, and you never know what you could get for some of these normals. So probably on this one, I would just sell it as a normal possible het desert ghost. This one's really friendly. Take a look at that. Some of these seem like they're a little bit more friendlier than the others as far as, you know, kind of like being head shy and stuff like that. Really getting big and chunky. That is a pretty good looking snake right there. All right, so here is Zucchini. We named it Zucchini, and he is a male. And possible het desert ghost, and has that granite kind of a look in the sides. Pretty awesome looking snake. Just another male normal. As far as, you know, what I'd sell, I'd probably just sell it as normal. That one looks like it has a pretty normal belly pattern. So it's kind of funny. You're always looking for little markers, and sometimes you actually see them. In this one, I don't really see a whole lot of markers or flaming or anything else that could possibly be in this guy. And this guy is kind of, I actually pulled him out, and he seemed like he's a little bit lighter. Some of these were a little bit stubborn to get started, and then after they get started, they usually catch up really quick. So even though he's a little bit lighter than the other ones, he would definitely catch up just as quick and grow just as fast, no problem at all. And it seems like he's not quite as dark as some of the other ones. Maybe has a little bit of highlights in here. Really interesting pattern. Has a lot of these little alien heads. Almost looks like a whole group of aliens just kind of hanging out there. Like, this is about as normal as you can get those little Roswell gray aliens. It's like a little family of little heads right there, which is pretty cool. I always like the alien head look on a lot of my normals. Looking really good. He's got some interesting kind of a little highlights right in here, which is kind of neat. Let's see up on his neck, kind of what he has kind of going on as far as the pattern. I always like to kind of look at all the patterns and kind of check them out from head to tail. And another thing, the good thing to do is actually see if they have any kinks or anything. I haven't seen any kinks in any spines or any genetic defects in any of these. Looking really good. All right, so here's the last one I wanted to show you. This one we named Spaghetti. Spaghetti is a beautiful pastel. Look at how pretty that is. Really awesome. A little bit brighter than the other one, a little bit browned out here, but the kind of the cool thing about this is he has really cool highlights coming right down the top of the back. That is pretty cool. These little spotted dots coming right down the back. And this one is pastel possible het desert ghost. And you can still see kind of the pixelation. I was wondering if that was genetic or if it's just kind of, you know, common in all these. It seems like all of them are really pixelated in this whole clutch, which is kind of interesting as far as being pixelated. And sometimes if you actually, let's take a look at the belly on this one and see what this one looks like. This one has a really clear belly, looking really good. Got some interesting patterns along the sides. Has kind of a blushed out head, just a little bit from the pastel. Really good looking pastel, really big and long. Look at how big that thing is. That is a pretty big hatchling. It's amazing how fast they grow in just a short amount of time. All right, so a few things I should mention about shipping if you're interested in one of these ball pythons. I actually ship on a Tuesday for a Wednesday delivery. It's overnight shipping, and I ship directly to your FedEx ship center. It's pretty much required to ship to your FedEx ship center in order to get the live arrival guarantee and the insurance on the shipping. And as far as the FedEx ship centers, it's kind of confusing because there's actually FedEx ship and print centers that don't accept live animals. So it has to be the ship center, it can't be the ship and print. And if you actually are a long ways away from your local FedEx ship center, I can actually ship directly to your house. I've actually done that a couple times, but then you don't have the live arrival guarantee and you don't have the insurance. I prefer to ship directly to the FedEx ship center. So that is pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.